My name is Joseph, and I'm a private investigator with X-Ray Vision. I take on many cases that quickly get solved. But even the most skilled PIs have their tough mysteries to solve. This is the story of one of those mysteries that came across my desk. Recently, I was eating my lunch leisurely when my boss walked into my office and sat a thick stack of papers on my desk. It was a report from a family, John and Julie Smith, who claimed that they owned a private jet, and a group of individuals took it. There was nothing they could do about it, because on paper, the jet was repossessed.
On the surface, it seemed as if the family wasn't keeping up with maintenance for the jet. However, what I uncovered revealed that there was more behind the scenes happening, and the story got confusing before I solved the case. I was hired by John and Julie because they received a letter of termination from the jet company. The company had sent the letter in response to a note from Julie. Her note said, "Since you legally hijacked my jet, I'm going to ensure that you lose all your money." Clearly, the company didn't want to have contact from her anymore. Together. However, that wasn't the full picture. Meet the Johnson family. Quote, "For background, the Johnson family worked for the jet company for many years," he stated. When the Smith family attended frequent air shows and lectures about flying at the company's facility, they grew close to the Johnson family. In fact, John had already known Mr. Johnson when they had private flying lessons together. John got so much value from the classes that he became a billionaire in no time and bought the jet that was repossessed. The Johnson family became jealous because the Smiths surpassed them in wealth. The jet company was loyal to the Johnsons, so the Johnsons used them to get the jet of their dreams. If they couldn't steal it outright, they'd use technicalities to do their deeds. If things weren't crazy and confusing enough already, it wasn't long before John himself became a villain. A couple of days after the case was opened, Julie called to inform me that John had disappeared. John then contacted my partners to say that Julie truly wanted to burn the jet company financially. Julie denied ever threatening to sue the company in any way, but more and more people were speaking to the contrary. When John was brought in for questioning about his wife's actions toward the company, I listened in and noticed that although he sounded like he was reading from a script. It almost seemed as if he was repeating a line from a TV show, or from another person who recorded different phrases and put them on repeat in his ear. The interviewing investigator stepped away for a break, and I approached him. "I think he's being coached," I said quietly. "He just sounds too, robotic."
I then looked down at John and noticed that he had a weird device attached to his waistline. That device becomes important later when the case is solved. I didn't know it, but we were all subjected to the potential destruction from that one device. I sat down and started questioning John myself. "Where do you stay right now?" I asked. "It's top secret," he responded. "My wife said that she would take my money too, and I have a treasure chest at my new house full of gold." I left the room for a moment. When I came back, John had turned into a statue. I did further investigating. Then, all the pieces of the puzzle came together. This is what happened. Spoiler. Julie didn't write the note. Quote, "Early this year, John and Julie were living their lives as they tried to get their private jet back. They were looking forward to a future together flying around the world, especially since they had healing to do from past rough patches in their marriage. They were at odds with the company and the Johnson family, so they weren't talking to them. Out of the blue, John got a letter in the mail from the jet company saying that his wife had threatened to financially destroy them. He knew better than to believe them because of their corrupt history. Things just got more twisted from there. One of his old friends was in cahoots with the jet company and the Johnsons. The friend's name was Bob. Bob messaged him on Telegram and told him to strictly use cellular data hotspot on a secondary device, in private. At the same time, over regular text, John and Bob used certain conversations that were future-minded and that Bob knew would condemn Julie later. On Telegram, however, Bob told John what they should text each other. Then, Bob said something chilling.
"You've betrayed us before," he said.
"You will help us get that jet and keep it. If you don't do as I say, I'm going to send a robot to your house with a device that will turn your entire family into statues. If you come when I send the air marshal to fly you to where I am, I'll spare whoever is living there. If you don't, the robot will work its magic. Oh, and don't try any funny business, because the robot is already close enough to see if anyone in your house tries to escape, so if you say a word and anyone acts to save themselves from becoming statues, they'll become statues in a heartbeat." Then, Bob and John resumed the conversations that were meant for everyone to see on other messaging apps. Quote,
When John accepted a flight to Bob's house, Bob met him with excitement.
"Now that you're here, put this belt on under your clothing," Bob said. "This device is always listening to you, so you're never alone. If you don't do everything in your power to let us keep that jet and help us win it, I'm pushing a button to turn you into a statue. That robot is still waiting at your house, too." Bob and the Johnsons gave John different stories about Julie. They told some themselves, and they gave some to John to tell as his own. The Johnsons had convinced John to side with them before, but he went to Julie and blew the whistle on their tactics. That's why, this time, they had the human-to-statue converting devices ready for him. "You'd better tell everyone that you were never made by us to do anything," Mr. Johnson said sternly. "Tell them you were lying about us. We're going to ask you on a recording if we ever pressured you into anything, and you'd better say no." For the remainder of his time not being a statue, John wore the device 24/7. When he came to my office for questioning, he used his cell phone to look up a hack to disable human-to-statue converters. During his search, Mr. Johnson, who had installed a tracking app on his phone, pushed the button that turned John into a statue. Where Julie's supposed note came from is a mystery.
Mr. Johnson was arrested and sent to federal prison. The jet was converted into a Con Air airplane.
Anytime Mr. Johnson gets transferred in the prison system, he must ride that particular jet.